Maneva na sema PENDREAM TV. PENDREAM TV there osia dem yopo.
What is the exact issue with this particular one? Tamakloe.
Okay, so I think I want to look at this conversation. It's a very vast one. I want to approach it with a bit of caution, in the sense that usually when a certain notoriety is established, that nationals of a particular country are involved in such organized crime, and if you look at the magnitude of the amounts involved, $100 million, that's huge. It creates a certain agency within government to show that there are no official complicity in those offenses, and that the named individuals involved are doing it at the level, at their individual level. There's also that tendency, particularly for the Americans, to have this view that because of the wealth that these individuals might have garnered, through this enterprise, obviously unlawful, they might have some influence, which influence usually gets them to, as it were, want to, control the system. And so there's always that posturing by government to try to, as it were, show that, look, you know what, government is not involved. And if there's anything by way of cooperation from government, we are willing to cooperate. That usually comes with unintended consequences, because then you need to do a balancing act beyond respect for due process, and also possibly the reputation of the country as well. And I'll tell you a vivid story. If you recall, between 2006, 2007, there was this whole talk about drug in the country. So President Kufuor was under so much pressure. In fact, what actually broke the camel's back was the MV Benjamin saga. So when the MV Benjamin thing came, because apparently the Americans, the Drug Enforcement Agency and co, has shared this intel, that they had picked this information that there was a vessel or a ship moving from the South Americans to Ghana, MV Adade. Then subsequently, this intel that was shared got leaked. So the story was that on the high seas, this ship, MV Adade, was repainted into MV Benjamin to conceal its identity. Eventually, the stories associated with MV Benjamin became a matter of notoriety, to the extent that the president at that time, President Kufuor, was forced to set up the Georgina Wood Committee. You recall? With Georgina Wood Committee, among others, at that time, they used to sit at the Ministry of Interior. So I used to attend the committee, proceedings in that time, 2006 to 2007, thereabout.
Right.
Eventually, what happened was that the committee recommended the prosecution of some individuals and even some law enforcement officers. And for obvious reasons, I do not want to mention their name.
And this is to do with extradition.
Please.
Oh, I'm just saying something you to direct him a bit, because we have references.
Hold on.
Abu Trica. Why is...
Hold on.
Look how
you asked the
President Kufuor.
You asked the question. I have asked the question.
You didn't ask that question.
Hold on. Yes.
So the point I am making is that at that time, even the hurried manner in which some individuals were prosecuted raised serious eyebrows. And I remember the prosecution of Tagore, among others in that matter, which eventually got overturned by the Court of Appeal, became a topical issue. Because at that time, the story was that the government was under pressure by the Americans to demonstrate that there was no official complicity. The reason why I'm drawing this analogy is that, you see, when some of these things happen, I don't sit at a certain level in terms of governance.
Absolutely.
I play per my pay grade.
True.
You know, there are some meetings I may not be privy to. But the point I am making is that when you have this kind of scenarios, a lot of things go into it.
You are the president's lawyer.
I'm coming.
Okay.
When I was coming, the president has. Yeah, I know. I mean,
it's all interjection.
It's okay. No, he is my man.
Go to the matter.
I am. The president has an attorney general. No, I'm not qualified.
We just want to be educated on the matter.
Yeah, we are going. I'm going there. I see why. You are intimidating me. You are intimidating me this morning. You know, so the point I'm making is that, you see, so a lot goes into these questions of extradition. One, you want to look at the image of the government. The government wants to show that they are proactive on these matters. But the challenge is that our constitution is governed by the dictates of due process and the rule of law. And so in seeking to do this for government, I also believe that due process ought to be respected. And it must be done so aggressively. I am a lawyer. I am putting myself in a situation where I am counsel for Abu Trica. And this had happened. What would be my legitimate response to this?
Absolutely.
Look, and particularly coming from America, it is a country that evangelizes due process. Evangelizes, due process and the rule of law, particularly respect for human rights. Whilst coming here, I had to reference a case of extradition in the United States Supreme Court, a decision that was delivered 9 December 2025, just last year. It has to do with this famous medical doctor, gynecologist, Dr. Kanayama. It's a very famous case. Kanayama has developed himself one of the foremost experts in gynecology and others, but he's of a Japanese origin, but had permanent residence in the United States of America. Somewhere in 2015, he went to Japan, his home country. And subsequently, the story was that he had, the Japanese are there's this fetish about them, about their shrines. So he had visited 2 of the shrines and purportedly misconducted himself with criminal consequences. So the Japanese, as early as 2016, requested for his extradition from the Americans, that the Americans should help extradite him to Japan to face trial. And usually for the America, the principle is that there must be duality of crime, in the sense that what you are seeking to, as it were, try the person for must be a crime in the U.S. And obviously, I think that test will be passed in Ghana, in the sense that romance, fraud, defrauding by false pretense is an offense there, and is also passed. So that duality test would have been deemed a condition met. But in the specific case of the Japanese one, yes, the Americans felt that the duality idea was also legitimately met. And they were willing to extradite him to Japan. Look, as early as December 2017, Kanayama has fought this extradition for almost 10 years. From 2017 to 2025. Before finally the U.S. Supreme Court allowed that even though he has a permanent residence, that's green card, he's extraditable. And he was eventually extradited to Japan to go and face trial. The reason why I make reference to this Kanayama decision is the fact that even in America, due process is respected.
Absolutely.
And so I have this view at the personal level that to the extent that the basic court granted the order for extradition, however, there was a pending bail application also granted duly by a high court. which bail conditions had been fulfilled, if there was a legitimate notice of appeal against the orders of the Gbese High Court, followed with an application for stay pending that hearing, I think with respect, that ought to have been respected. Before the extradition. Yeah. And my thinking is that, you see, we also need to show the Americans that we respect the due process requirement just as they do.
Thank you.
Because as we speak today, there's a reason why Ken Ofori-Atta, for instance, is not in Ghana. Why? Government of Ghana wants him here to come and account for his stewardship. But the Americans believe that there's a requirement of due process. They have even gone further to even give him a green card, permanent resident, notwithstanding the pendency of this extradition.
In a different application.
In a different, So my point is that maybe in terms of doing the balancing act, the need to do the extradition and the processes that were legitimately going on in our courts, we could have done a balancing act to say, maybe let's await the outcome of that appellate review. Yeah. So that if that appellate review, it can be expedited. In this country,
you don't even need to expedite. Why?
No, hold on.
That's for slavery. It's
okay,
not paid for slavery. $97 trillion.
Yes.
It's not paid. Why are we in the right to send
you know,
people
President
there?
Mahama is a champion of
exactly, and they are not minding him, and he's minding them.
No, they are minding him. They are minding.
America didn't support the listen.
No, America has its own view.
Exactly, yes. But that's America that we took.
No,
$97 trillion. They owe us.
The point I am making is that we could have done a balancing act with a different outcome, which outcome would actually imply just allowing the basic court and the appellate review to have happened, so that regardless of what the outcome will be, but where in this case it does appear that the process has been truncated by this one looks more like a rendition.
Exactly, it's a rendition.
In the sense that it is a removal to come and face trial. As we speak, there's a member of parliament duly elected by his people.
Asante Achim.
He
succeeded on the Apia Kubi.
No, he defeated
me out of this.
He defeated on the Apia Kubi.
Take me out of this.
No, we are just using it as a point of reference. Even in church.
His point of reference are very cheap.
But I think it's just a matter of fact.
Cheeky.
But I'm sure today, if you offer that seat to Honorable, you feel that the pressure of him has come down significantly. And he's looking, like you are saying, very young. The pressure alone can even put gray on you. But the bottom line, and I want to make this argument, is that I am not aware of any quid pro quo arrangements with the government of the United States of America by way of loans or any other thing. I want to strongly believe that this is a position by government to basically show that there are no official complicity in some of these organized crime. It is also, I strongly believe, government's way of sending a message of its that there is zero tolerance for some of these offenses. That there is no way government of Ghana is going to shield any person who is found to have engaged in such conduct or misdeed. What is important and very good is that at least where Abu Trica is going, the United States of America, is a country where there is great respect for due process and human rights, particularly anchored on fair trial. And I want to believe that in America, he will get all the reasonable facilities required for him to prepare his defense.
Sure.
The American courts are such that they take issues on human rights strongly. Look, There is this Diego Garcia or something guy in America that President Trump has done everything humanly possible, executive possible, to have him extradited or removed because he's an illegal immigrant or something. The American courts have, without hesitation, said no. And as we speak, I think he's still in America, notwithstanding the fact that the almighty Donald Trump wants him immediately removed from the U.S. So I want to assure Abu Trica that where he had been moved to, it's not a place you call Banana Republic. His rights, if it's legitimately established that he committed no such offense, I have no doubt at all in my mind that the American courts will vindicate him at the end of the day. That notwithstanding, I believe that maybe going forward, the rules on the extradition ought to be properly spelled out. Thankfully, we have a legislation in Ghana that governs some of these undertakings so that going forward, some of this, and I always say that, you see, we are building a democracy. I was listening to Senior Pebu.
Yes.
And Pebu talked about the Dombo Interior Minister.
Yeah.
If you recall, even March, by 1957, you know Krobo Edudzi.
Yes, he to the same.
Balogun and the rest. Edudzi.
Yes.
And I recall vividly, you know, in those times, the courts will stop the deportation.
Yeah.
And immediately what Krobo Edudzi would do is that he would go to Parliament and get Parliament to pass the usual ad hominem. Yes, and usually pass the ad hominem legislations.
Yes.
So while the matter is in court, he will go to Parliament, and Parliament will pass a specific law, Amadou Balogun Act. Specific to Deportation Act.
Amadou Balogun Act.
Okay.
So that is how things had shaped, even from 1957, when Krobo Edudzi was the Interior Minister. And the courts, even in those times, were very, very angry. I think Krobo Edudzi was even convicted for contempt. In fact, he was. He was. The High Court at that time convicted him for contempt of court as even Interior.
And then they rushed to Parliament and then
cover it. To cover it.
Parliament cannot pass the law to
so
reverse
you
the
see,
court
so
decision.
if you see, it is based on that Krobo Edudzi experience. When the 1979 Constitution was being crafted, they then put in it that Parliament cannot pass a law to override a decision of the court. Two, then 92 Constitution also brought it in. And so today, if a matter is in court and the legislature and the executive are not happy, they cannot quickly pass a law to override that judicial pronouncement. It is based on and the effect of that application. And based on that checkered history, when we're putting the 1992 Constitution together, we put some of this to serve as a check. Because legitimately, as human as we are, there's always the tendency to repeat some of these past mistakes. So I strongly believe that this Abu Trica matter, maybe government took a position that, look, we want to send a message forcefully that will not provide a shield for persons who have been found to have engaged in such conduct. And in this case, maybe there's a greater good in protecting the image of the Republic as not being a safe haven for such misdeeds or not. Regrettable as the due process mechanism may appear to have been truncated, we want to do a balancing act and see whether in the circumstance the justification for such speedy extradition is worth it. I think I will yield back.
And especially, yes, and
the salvation, as we see, is the opportunity for Abu to mobilize the necessary resources and opportunities to defend himself. And I very much believe that, given the opportunity, he will be able to, bring the evidence to his favor. And indeed, the onus is on the American judiciary or American
government
prosecution to to ensure that they provide the necessary evidence that will lead to conviction. Otherwise, he remains, not a criminal at this point. And it is going to be very difficult for them to so establish. So, given the fact that he has also been given the opportunity to engage counsel of his choice, he should be given. If there is counsel, the counsel must be upon his choice or approval.
And I think that even with the release on this matter, it's quite clear that they have indicated that this indictment is only a charge. It's not an evidence of guilt. Essentially.
Let's not dwell too much on it too.
Why?
Because listen, before they come,
make sure that he's
they are just if I just be giving one, they are just trying to placate us. Listen, before they will spend resources saying they want the person, they would have been 150% confident of a conviction. So this is just placatory. That's how come. Let me finish.
It is in their law.
Yes. Oh, that one. These are laws.
That's African extradition law.
What about our extradition?
Yes.
Yes, but he's talking about opportunities in America as he goes through prosecution. And I'm saying that which...
In fact, they will even get him a public defender.
That which is coming from...
Oh, no, it doesn't necessarily follow. Just to add to what Martin, you talk, you end it. Let me just make this clear. Why? American legal system. Are we not aware of things that happen there?
Exactly.
I mean, first of all, even black people, the way they are treated in their legal system. Secondly, a Ghanaian who has defrauded an American citizen.
Alleged to have.
Well, alleged to have. So let us not
America
make it automatic. Let's not make it automatic that the American legal system is necessarily better than ours. Because even in our case, and we're all agreed, we're all agreed here. We're all agreed here that it was hasty. That one, even all of us, even government is saying that, look, let's have an open mind, his personal opinion. Then he gave an explanation of the government situation, all of that. And I wanted to use the opportunity in terms of information because the listeners are there. This has been raised to an extent by both Martin and Amanda. Is it coincidental? And I was thinking you ask him further probing questions. Is it coincidental with the AG's visit in America? That as soon as they came, there seems to be some haste. Can you tell us more? Ask the questions.
Hold on.
No, Alfred, I beg. Let me land.
You asked of me.
You should be able to.
Hold on.
No. The visit.
Hold on.
Wait, I'm coming. Let me
reference something. Let me just say.
But I haven't landed. Let me land.
That he has some information.
Sometimes you too. You must also be able to be fair. Look, I'm just saying. So that question, that visit, because that issue was not addressed. That visit recently, was there any sort of pressure that was given to us? Hence, the U-turn of this speedy thing, all of a sudden in July, between 2nd to 9th, done. Whereas before, yes, we agree with all the examples he gave, that the government is showing that they are serious and all of that. And that's why all the boat case and all of that. Yes, that was done within a reasonable time. The processes were exhausted. But we are just asking this AG visit. And if so, what is the government's position on such things also not occurring again in future? We just want to know.
Thank you. Now, but you have the person...
May I with respect intervene here?
Quickly.
You see, at the level where these conversations, you get them in the America and here. These are not matters for disclosures. There's no evidence on record that the visit...
But if you don't disclose, I'm just saying, if you don't disclose, you allow speculation.
With respect. You see, if the meeting the Attorney General actually had with the FBI, and the FBI, I think, posted it, the Justice Department or so, relative to commitments to ensure that transnational, transborder crimes and others are nipped in the bud. I do not know the specifics. That Abu Trica's extradition was specifically discussed. As I sit here, if I say I know it, I will be peddling falsehood. The point I am making strongly is that a lot of factors come into this conversation. We can do a post facto in terms of argument as to whether it was properly procedurally right or not. That is a legitimate exercise that we can engage in. And I have also said that the lawyer in me tells me that the due process ought to have been exhausted fully. granting him that opportunity also advances the democratic credentials of the country. That in Ghana, there is greater respect for ABCD. Like I
we
told
understand
you,
that.
Kanayama and Co.
I understand
went
exactly.
through that.
No,
10
you
years.
have just because you see that same question put differently, which
Martin
you didn't hear, Michael Kwesi. He responds to say that look, he some decisions and some conversations he doesn't sit
Beyond
at
my
those
pay
areas,
grade.
and it's beyond his pay grade.
But
so
it is
what
Martin
would that
who
go
said
to
that
prove?
he's privy to some information which will lead to disclosures. So we are saying that Martin should share that information with us so that we can be convinced that this thing happened in the background.
But why there's no clarification? Martin is allowed to speculate. I'm just saying.
It's speculation. It's analysis. It's an academic analysis. Why would listen? Why would a sovereign country like Ghana disrespect its courts, rush, double down, and just handle its citizens to take to the US, right? Without any quid pro quo.
Right after a visit.
Because this is Attorney General Dr. Dominicaino, professor of law. Everybody, Dominicaino is taught, you know that no. Ayeni can't have his hands in such a thing. If it's so wrong, if not for greater forces beyond Ayeni. So Ayeni, Interior Minister, Foreign Minister, the President himself, it tells you that there is something. There is something. Let's continue. You are hurrying up to take Trump, who has disrespected the U.S. Supreme Court itself. Edudzi mentioned the Kilmer Abrego Garcia case. The U.S. Supreme Court ruled that Garcia should be returned, and Trump has refused from April last year. They ordered that they should facilitate his return. Trump will have nothing of it, and we are further honoring Trump with Abu Trica, etc. It tells you that there is a quid pro quo. Because listen, and let's come to this.
But senior, at this level, let's say that you are speculating.
No.
Possible reason.
He never said that. He said analysis. He never said I have it for sure.
Yeah. So now let's go. Our next point. So now the UN, the whole world has accepted that slavery is the greatest crime against humanity. Our forefathers were hauled here, taking the free. We built America. America belongs to all of us. That state doesn't belong to them. Look, our people did free labor. They say if you read the literature, the value of that labor is more than their banks, their railway, etc. America was built on our sweat. Okay. They have not given us one city back. So why the rush? Why the rush?
In running,
they've not paid us.
Yes, Martin. In running every enterprise, one of your most recurrent costs is the cost of labor,
especially human labor.
Human labor.
Yes.
And so, any society that grows or develops on the back of free labor should always be thankful to that labor. Because if you are paying for those railway lines, and that is what propelled America, the cotton farm, that's where industrialization started. Yeah. Okay. America moved from agrarian and then from agri to industry to railway and others to what it is today.
Well, thank you very much.
Just one last point. You know, one thing I'm very happy about. One thing I'm very happy about with this panel is that we are honest. If you look at all the four lawyers, we agree with the fact that the haste was the procedural.
No, because when all is said and done, we'll go back to the court.
Of course,
that's what
and they will ask you. So we agree with that. My only thing, which I want to leave as food for thought,
but that's our hope for the future.
As food for thought is that why is it that all of us here privately we agree with it that the procedure was a bit, and yet the other law enforcement agencies or judicial agencies or whatever you want to call them didn't see that. They didn't see that flaw in what they were doing. This is something that I want to leave for our viewers to think of. What happened?
Well, thank you. And as I round up, and I'll give you the last one. But you don't, Martin Pebu says he doesn't put premium on this aspect of the release. This is information from the United States.
Yeah.
What I'm putting there.
There are many times there's no fair trial in America.
Indeed. And the Apia Kubi holds a different view.
Apia Kubi telling me all the trials in America are fair.
Exactly.
He's entitled to that.
So, then let's listen.
America is a failing democracy. It's a failing democracy.
Hold on. He's entitled to
Let
me hear him.
Is that this is not in respect of this particular trial, but it is part of the American.
No, this is actually in respect of this particular trial. This
also applies to Ghana.
Indictment is,
this applies to Ghana. We have a good system of but yet they didn't treat him fairly.
And I'm saying this is couched out of the Act of America.
Yes.
That when you are put before the court with such charges, you are presumed to be innocent until proven.
True.
And it is generally part of our laws in Ghana as well. So it is that rendition that is couched out of the American Extradition Act.
Okay. Thank you.
You know, this Extradition Act, Act 22, as it's popularly called, you know, it's a very simple act. What does it say? It says that basically this process requires a formal request. That has been done. Mm-hmm. It requires judicial hearing. That has been done. Then it says
it starts from an arrangement between the countries.
Yes, I mean that has all been done, because the formal request is arrangement, where they must have an arrangement between them to be able to do that kind of thing. So that is the base. Then, most importantly, sufficient evidence to justify surrender. This is a key part of this Extradition Act. And just like Amanda said, and previously Martin also insisted, I just think that we could have waited a bit, just so that the evidence and the process has sufficient time to deal with the person's human rights. Look, if Abu Trica is extradited next year, it doesn't kill anyone.
Exactly.
As long as he has been given all the time to be able to go through the process. Now, we know that this romance scam problem is a big one. I mean, it's developed a sort of transnational, international dimension where cybercrime is basically a big problem at the moment. And I know that most governments, including even the previous government, I don't know what the situation is now with this government, maybe Edudzi can educate us. I want him to tell us two things. One, maybe why the rush, because maybe there's a particular reason other than all the quid pro quo and all the rest that has been suggested here. And Martin said loan.
Yeah, loan, number one.
And all of that. We need an explanation on that. And we need to understand that, look, why is a Ghanaian's human rights so frivolous that it just seems to be quite rampant recently? I mean, before we've always had extradition, but we've had them, prolonged, make sure that the Ghanaian, remember, a Ghanaian's government interest or attorney general interest is the Ghanaian, not America. That is the first thing. We want to work with them in terms of international law. We want to stop cybercrime and all the rest of it. But we are not in the process of just surrendering our citizens. My brother Okansi, you remember recently we had a case with the Russians. You remember? Mm-hmm. Where the Russians told us that, yes, they will look into the evidence that will bring them and, if possible, prosecute him. But they will not extradite him because, as a Russian citizen, their first priority is to protect him. I don't necessarily agree with that angle, but you could see a certain willingness to protect their citizen in that instance. So this is what we should look at. Because, look, what are some of the things that happened?
In that particular area, there was an issue that we didn't have any treaty.
I know. We don't have it. Yes, I understand.
So, that may not be a very good reference.
No, I know, but yes. I'm just saying that's why I didn't go with that angle. I went with the willingness to sort of stand for their citizen.
Okay.
That is what they actually hinted on. As for the rest, even through diplomatic channels, where there is no treaty, there can be some sort of discussion where through bilateral relations, it can be put aside. So there are always exceptions to the rule if applied. But for me, the main area that I wanted to look at was they just kept saying our citizen, our citizen, our citizen. And sometimes I'm just saying, whether it's any government, in particular this government, they must also be heard to be saying a bit, our citizen, our citizen, our citizen. It's very important. Look, what are some of the things that we're looking at? The Accra High Court affirmed the extradition. That's the order requiring him to be transferred to the United States. And this was done because of this alleged $8 million, fraud that he's been accused of. July 9th, he has been extradited. In fact, some people think he's still there and he's actually gone. He's in the United States now.
Oh, yes.
And for me, what I find strange is that this is a big setback because this man's bail, the 30 million bail with the sureties and all of it, this matter was dealt with in April. All of a sudden, in July, on the 2nd, the Accra High Court dismissed his legal challenges against the Gbese District Court, and by the 9th, he was out of the country. And all his protests, because we do this through the legal courts, have been set aside. And we're looking at a situation where our citizen, even though his matter is still pending in our courts of competent jurisdiction, he has been shipped away. I don't think that that is right. Because I don't think America will send their citizen to us when they still have matters pending in their courts. I don't think that is something that would happen. And part of fair trial in our own constitution of Article 19 is that the court process must be fully exhausted. And I think that he wasn't granted that, opportunity. So generally, it's a bit of a conundrum. And that's why I said that I'm happy that my brother Edudzi is here so that he can tell us what was the rush, what was the haste, as my brother mentioned, inordinate haste. Why was he moved so quickly within this July 2nd to 9th as if something was chasing them? And especially as it coincides with the recent visit of the Attorney General to the United States. What was the understanding? Were there some circumstances which we were not aware of and which has come to light, whereby he has to go tomorrow morning? Is it true that we're getting certain benefits from it, and so therefore we can sacrifice our own citizens to be able to get those benefits for ourselves, and it makes diplomatic sense? We want to know, because when we have a government that we have voted for, we want to hold them to the fire. We want to be able to ask them questions that citizens are not able to understand under these circumstances. So these are some of my first take on this extradition matter. And for me, the question that adds to it, which is whether Ghana benefits or not, should not be the litmus test. The test should be, have we treated our citizen fairly? Have we applied the rule of law fairly? If that has been done, then I think that we should look at the benefit of the Ghanaian citizen instead of the benefit of the Ghanaian government.
But also you asked a question about whether there's been sufficient evidence to justify the surrender and what has happened now.
Yes.
That's what we don't know.
Yes, but, right? That's what I'm saying. So,
How
will you know that? Yeah, how will you know that if you've not allowed the court process to be fully exhausted? I'm just saying that there shouldn't be any rush. July 2nd to 3rd seems to be a rush. That is all I'm saying. Within that 1 week, bam, get on the plane, go. Why?
Well, Edudzi Tamakloe is here, and whether this is a rush or the integrity of the extradition process, because he's not the only one who has been extradited, at least within this period under review. There's been a number of them based on the information that the United States itself put out. The FBI Assistant Director in charge of operations, Christopher Aram, this $100 million, remember this $100 million matter that the FBI was looking into these individuals: Isaac Odro-Boateng, Inusa Ahmed, Derek Van Yeboah, Patrick Kwame Asari. These are instances as well that, Ghanaians have been extradited.
PENDREAM TV. Now, so far so good.
Say open online portal e Ghana. Ah, nipa share, nipa follow, nipa comment here. To my best of knowledge, without any biases, I PENDREAM TV.